is the Outlook on Click Niger online channel. On the Outlook, we take deep dive into certain institution, professions, or individual. Today, we look at digital vigilance, spotting and reporting cybercrime. And joining me is a cybersecurity engineer, Mr. Precious Olives. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you on the studio.
It's a pleasure meeting you too. What are some of the signs that you might be a victim of cybercrime? Do you know them? Then don't go away. Right now, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Do it now. Follow us on our social media handle, Facebook, and for Instagram and X is at Click Niger. You can also listen to us via our online www.clickniger.gov.ng. So, Mr. Precious, let's hit the ground running. What are the common cybercrime situations that people should be worried about in the 21st century?
There's some few, and I'm particularly going to be saying this based on the current age we are, because we are really on the digital age. Yeah. So most of this common crime that happens these days are mostly, I would say, cyber defamation. And cyber defamation really just occurs when fake stories are being said towards a person just to bring down their image and their reputation. We also have cyberbullying, and this is one particular one that is really on the rampant because of the current age and time we are. So apart from cyberbullying, we also have identity theft.
Identity theft?
Yeah, that's right. So identity theft, many a times it even happens to most individuals. You go out there and just all of a sudden see social media accounts of your own self.
Also of your own self. Mostly exactly. It happens to celebrities.
Yeah, it happens to celebrities. It also happens to individuals.
In terms of fraud, I want you to elaborate on it a little bit.
Okay, fraud comes in different forms. One of them is we have the cryptocurrency fraud, forensic investigations. We also have we know business fraud. We have something called the BEC scam. Okay. BEC scams is business email compromise. It affects mostly business enterprises, and this usually happens, or most of the attacks start from phishing attacks. Okay. And yes, phishing attacks. Talking about phishing attacks, I'll tell you that in 2023, it was recorded globally that over 41% of cyber breaches were due to phishing attacks in 2021. Talking about that, so phishing attacks is really a huge problem that we experience on a day-to-day activities.
What are the signs that a person is a victim of cybercrime, and how can people recognize these signs? Now, from this, your first question, you list some activities. Now, give us how we can see this person is a victim and signs of them.
Okay, so how do we know a person is a victim of cybercrime? I'll start with some, because I mentioned some cybercrime like cyber defamation. I mentioned some like identity theft. One of them is basically if you realize or you see unusual communications coming to your mails. For those of us who are like we use day-to-day mails, we get mails at work in companies. Yeah. When you notice unusual activities on your mails, there are times where you can actually see a job interview that you never applied for, somebody inviting you for something, okay, this is wrong, this is suspicious. Also, in terms of persons, in terms of other crimes, how do you know that a person has been a victim is you notice that they have reduced social media interactions. I'm saying this as regards to cyber defamation. So this happens whereby when you get to see it happens with teenagers, and I'm saying this in plea to also parents, you realize that people actually have reduced social media activities. Sometimes when you go online, you just see them with a change of mood. Those are ways and signs you will notice that, okay, something is going wrong somewhere, because these are things that a lot of persons face cyber bullying particularly, but they don't go out in the public because of course it's eating them, so you get to see them more reserved, you get to see reduced communication, reduced social activities. Sometimes secretiveness comes into play, because when you get to meet your friends, you just realize that they're being secretive about something. And I'm saying it because we've actually had scenarios that this happen. By the time you dig deep, you realize that somebody out there is actually bullying them or extorting them in cyber. And one of the extortions that happen in the cyber realm is usually sextortion. So when people are victims of sextortion, you get to see them really secretive. You get to see them held onto themselves, and they're not very, very outspoken. So those signs, when we see those things, we want to actually put up a red flag, like, okay, what's going on? You want to come closer to these persons to know. Many times you'll just be surprised of what you hear them or what they tell you.
Now, this misconception about the cybersecurity, cybercrime, now you've said some things about them. Now, can you give us their differences?
Okay, well, cybercrime is basically criminal activities that occur with the use of internet or digital technologies, rather, that's the word. So any crime that is carried out with digital technologies and the internet, we actually would classify that as cybercrime. Then cybersecurity, I would say, is a field, it's a domain where we have, is the domain that handles or focuses on the protection of devices, not just devices, people, softwares, from cyber attacks and cyber criminals. So that is cybersecurity. It's usually a domain, and I would say it has a lot of subfields that are involved in this domain. So and then the case of cyber fraud is a type of cybercrime. So that's basically the differences. So many times people have those misconceptions. They will use the term cyber fraud when associated with cybercrime, and other persons will actually think cybersecurity people as basically cybercrime. But of course, I think with this explanation, this should have made it very clear and made the gap to be clear.
Yeah, it's very clear. It's Click Naija. This is the outlook on Click Naija online radio. Subscribe now on our YouTube channel. Don't miss this opportunity. Now, when you suspect you have encountered cybercrime, what steps should you take?
Usually, I'll start off by saying, be outspoken. These are very important. When you're actually a victim of cybercrime, the first thing you want to do is be outspoken. Communicate with friends. They could help you. Communicate with family members. They could help you. And of course, since we've already talked about the different crimes, if it is extortion, if it is cyber fraud, any kind of cybercrime you've been involved with, or in terms of being victim of, rather, that's the word, you want to talk to family members and friends.
Yeah.
The next thing is you want to report to the necessary authorities.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say currently now the government has been making a lot of input and progress in trying to reduce the cybercrime. And of course we have organizations like the NCCC, that is the NPF, NCC, which is the National Center for Cybercrime. Now these people are ready to handle cyber fraud cases or cybercrime issues. So apart from just talking to people, you can actually also report to the necessary authorities, to the public offices or organizations that handle such cases.
How can people protect themselves from falling victims of phishing attacks?
I'll start off by saying, most importantly, be careful of what you post online.
Yeah.
Many of the cyber issues or sextortion or crimes and attacks that have happened so far were mostly due to what the individuals have posted online. So users need to be careful of what they post, what kind of image they put out there as themselves.
Okay, let me ask a question. What the post, like pictures, or is it family things, or information about themselves? Is it what they should be careful about, or what should be tough?
Okay, so generally I would say it should be mostly about, we should reduce the level of personal information we put out of ourselves.
Yeah.
And that includes, it's not every time you go for a party, you go for an event, before you get to see people before they go to certain events, they post it. Where they go to certain events, they post it. You also see, because right now we're at the stage where everybody wants to do content creation, and a lot of persons post stuffs that can tell their location, stuff that you will see them in their rooms. Certain things are being leaked. I used to see this fun thing on Twitter sometimes, they call it VAR. Somebody can post a picture of themselves in their room, and you just discover that somebody out there in Twitter just noticed something weird or something that was not supposed to be meant for the general public out there. So many times we be careful what we post and how much information we let out.
Okay.
So because it might not just be you, you might post something that may not directly affect you, but will affect your family members or persons that are closer to you.
Are there tools or apps that can solve this problem? What are the like tools, apps that can solve? Maybe you can download any apps, you can download anything to solve cyber attack, to shield you, to give you some personal, should I say bodyguard online?
All right. So talking about tools, well, I could mention some few for the general public.
Okay.
Okay, number one of those things is when we are registering for personally normal general cyber hygiene. I do this also when I'm registering for stuff that are not of high importance to me, that I do not want to give off my personal information. It's usually necessary that I use something we call temporary mails.
Okay.
And temporary meals.
Okay.
There are disposable meals out there. We have a bunch of them.
Okay.
And why we are doing this is because many a times you might get spams. Many a times I did mention that in 2021, we globally it was recorded that over 4.5 million data breaches have occurred. So you could tell that when you use your personal mails and other things to register for unrelevant things, if this platform gets breached, your passwords, your credentials, personal information are out there. I tell you, they are there, they are much out there, there are millions. So what we do many times, or what I advise is, when you're doing stuff, registering stuff that you think they're not so professional, use a disposable mail. But also, you better use case is to have multiple mails, maybe 1 or 2 mails. You have one mail you use for your official registrations of things that are very important to you, your company, and the other mail that you could use for other things. And this is so that you do not become a victim of a cyber attack.
At least I've learned something from here. I learned that be careful of the company you register with your mail, because once the company is breached, your secrets
records are out
and
there.
some of us, our bank details are in our emails. Exactly.
Like part of my job, because sometimes I do something called cyber threat intelligence. There are times actually we've actually gone to see breached records, and I'm seeing even bank details and personal records of persons, and it's so sad. It's so sad.
Very
really
dangerous. Very sad. Now, in preventing cybercrime, you are told often to change your password often, like use a stronger password, and that's, how can people create and manage them effectively without using them? Because sometimes when we create passwords, I have many passwords, sometimes I forget them. I have to write some of them in my diaries. So now what do we do here? Is it good to create or often change these passwords?
Alright, so there is a statement that you should change your password as much as you change your underwear, which means...
Wow! I love that.
So, and the reasons being is you don't want to be part of a breach, and you are having an old password, because supporting that statement, I would say also don't use the same password for all your social medias or everywhere. And that is because if I'm able to breach one of your accounts as a hacker, I'll just go try it for every other account you have. So that is very important. Now, apart from that, the concept of changing your passwords regularly, what are the best way to do it? To be very honest, I don't think it's also a bad idea to have a little bit diary where you have to write them. It's really not a bad idea, but I'll say that the industry have gone beyond that. It's something we call password managers. So password managers... Is there an app? Yeah, we have password managers for both mobile phones and for systems. Okay. So this is an application that basically stores every of your saved password, and then it has a superior maybe PIN or a password that you use to have access to the password manager. So what happens is you don't have to cram all of your passwords. When you just want to log in anything, your password manager just feeds in your password directly. So many people use these password managers to help them solve the issues of, I forgot my password, and also, what's more important than the password itself is, to be very honest, is multi-factor authentication. Many applications these days have implemented this. Okay. So these days, if you have your multi-factor authentication, even if your password is compromised, the chances of your accounts being taken over from you will be slim. And that's because you have to, or the hacker will have to verify that they are the owner of those accounts, maybe through mail or through phone numbers. So this multi-factor authentication is even as much important as the passwords themselves. For in case you forget your passwords or they get lost or something, you could always recover your account. That is true, but with the multi-factor authentication, it adds an extra security to you.
Okay, extra security to you. I like that.
That's right.
It's Click Niger. This is the Outlook, and we are discussing how you can stay safe online. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Click Niger. Don't miss this opportunity. How has cybercrime influenced children today?
Okay, well, particularly I get to see a lot of children become more depressed because when they get to social media and they get cyberbullied, many of them get really depressed and many of them begin to try to do harmful things. I've actually seen real life scenarios of this. Apart from them getting depressed, many of them become social media tyrants. You ask yourself, who are the bullies? They are also teenagers, they are also youths. So not just the people who are being bullied, but the social media also make a lot of persons to be tyrants.
Let me bring an example here. I remember the last former president, President Buhari, where a teenager, will I call him, is in the Gen Z same guy. He actually ostracized the president getting married, printed the card, and the guy was somewhere in Kano. Meanwhile, the whole nation thought the president was getting married. In fact, Nigerians too went to Central Mosque, waiting to see the president coming to marry the then Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. So when investigation was done and they traced where this guy was, he was somewhere in Kano, one of the local governments, where he's and did this thing. So this is what you're talking about. So this is how it affects children.
It makes them to be tyrants too. So that too, and the social media or cybercrime also make persons to also become vulnerable to other type of attacks. You can tell that these days a lot of people are looking to get into cyber fraud. I mean, the term we basically use, Yahoo. So social media gives people or persons that complex to wants to compete. They want to compete, and hence they get into cybercrime, or you're seeing their colleagues doing absolutely well, and then it wants to push them into doing all of these things. So that too is also different means.
Okay. Now in Nigeria, can people really report cybercrime? Do people feel safe to do so? Like, for instance, I've been a victim. There was sometimes last year, there was somebody said he's sending a cargo for me from somewhere, and somebody hacked into my system and got the information, and I sent the money to that person's account. You understand? So it's like what you said. So that's, I lost the money. I was talking to somebody different instead of the person who I was supposed to talk to. Now, that period, I didn't know who I report to because I felt the Nigerian police could not track this guy. Because the moment the guy knew that I discovered him, he quickly blocked everything I knew about him. And the channel I wanted to call me felt like I've gotten my passwords and everything. So that's how I lost out on it. Now, how can I report this crime? Is there a place I can go and report? Do I feel safe to report these crimes?
Approach this from two perspectives, and one of them is there's a relevancy in being part of cybersecurity communities. There are many of them out there. If you join community and you get cybersecurity awareness, you'll be part of communities whereby there are also professionals who are ready to help. I've been in part of such group chats, and a person, it's really amazing communities, by the way. And you see persons with different issues, and then persons in these communities are ready to pick this case up, they're ready to search, they're ready to use their knowledge to help them out. So when you're part of some of these communities, it stands to be a very good plus to you. And I also want to add that the Nigeria police is not really doing bad themselves. And it's really amazing what is going out there, because I say they have the equipment. Personally, they have the equipment to handle most cybercrime cases. I mean, there were some cybercrime cases that these guys have actually been able to track down.
That's a plus.
So, yeah, that's a plus. That's a plus. That tells you that there's really hope.
Hope.
So you could actually report that, but what matters is the channel. Because many times when you're reporting this case, the police will want to ensure that you are not actually cooking up stories.
Now, what are the channels for reporting cybercrime?
Channels for reporting cybercrime. To be very honest, saying this from the concept of local communities, one of the good places to just start from is your local police station. Yeah, generally. In as much as a lot of persons feel like this doesn't head anywhere. Well, at
when
least
you say local police station, this the ones I see in the areas that I feel like it's a place that I don't see hope. That's why I'm going to report the cyber crime too.
okay, well, the reason why, like I say, that is relative to the location, but there are some locations whereby you report your cybercrime issues to the police, they pick it up and they move those issues,
To the headquarters.
yes,
Okay.
to the necessary
Necessary
cybercrime team. When you are reporting that your account was hacked, then normally the information is supposed to provide maybe a driver license, any form of identity.
Yeah.
I tell you that a lot of persons, that's why I say careful what you post online, they can get those identities of individuals. And then I go to Facebook and I report like my account was hacked, and Facebook was like, which account? I serve it a person's mail, and that's because I have the person's credentials and other information.
Yeah.
And then I'm serving Facebook all of these things, and Facebook gives me access to that person's account. Sometimes it happens. Now, so what did they do to curb issues like that was to set up the whole concept of 2FA, the two-factor authentication. When Facebook brought that and urged everybody to do that, which means if you fail to do your two-factor authentication on Facebook and your account gets hacked, Facebook has less to offer you because it's on your basis, and this is why cyber awareness is very important in this age and time. It's very important. So, because there's almost less they can do about it. But of course, there are other platforms that can help you out when you report.
Okay. There are other platforms that can help you out when you report. So, what are the top tips for staying safe online and maintaining your cyber security?
Okay, I'll just list a few. One of them is like the one we mentioned before, change your passwords like you will change your underwears. Always use two-factor authentication.
Yeah.
Careful what you post online, who you communicate with online.
Okay.
Careful where you register your personal information online.
Yeah.
I've seen cases where persons just register for stuff and all of a sudden they see information of themselves.
Well, this makes them have learned.
Also have good cyber hygiene. In everything, have proper cyber awareness.
Beautiful.
That's the reason why I have people go to communities, give them information about how it happens. So when you are aware, a good chunk of your problems are going to be solved.
So I'll take that as a closing remark.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He said, have proper cyber awareness. Mr. Precious Olives, thank you for shedding light on important digital vigilance joining. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with us and sharing this information. Thank
Okay.
you.
Join us next time for more insightful digital vigilance. Thanks to the crew, the supervising producer Ehi Ohiani, the producer Rotimi Martins, and I am Nasir Yunusa. Stay safe. Bye.